All right, so now we're just setting up. Oh yeah, we can do it. All right, I gotta press
And then
record.
we can see each other.
All right.
It's like the mirrors in the mirrors.
That's cracker. Are the numbers moving? Yeah, I think they're moving. All right, now we can see. So you gotta come this way.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Like that?
That's it.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Oh my goodness.
So here we are.
Oh my gosh.
Introduce yourself.
10 years later. So my name is, I go by Sister Zai now, but a lot of people know me as Fat Zai.
And where are you from?
I'm Karanga, so I'm from southern Zimbabwe. My totem is Shamusiama, the Great Elam Bull.
Wow. Yeah. And I'm Rachel Shields. Through my mother's line, I'm a descendant of the Walwan people. It's placed in what you recognise as northwestern New South Wales. Not sure about my father, but my mother's mother is from there, Walwan country, and my mother's father is an Irishman. So that's part of the story here. And we met, how many years ago?
We met 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Is
Oh
it
my gosh.
9? Maybe 9. I think 9, 2010, 2011 or something like
Yeah.
that.
And we met in Melbourne, so through a Bunwarang elder, beautiful elder, and for the...
It was a storytelling collective, like a women's storytelling collective, and we'd get together and like talk about things that mattered.
Yeah, real things.
Real things.
Not just personal things, like things that are mattering in a social level, global level. And here we are, we've bumped into each other at the airport in Melbourne, and she's flying one way, I'm flying the other, but you're at number 3 or 4.
I'm at number 4, gate number 4.
And I'm at grade number 3. So we're having a yarn, and we just want to capture this moment to share as well.
It's quite special.
Yeah, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. We've both grown, and we are both out there sharing.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The Western train is travelling to Adelaide on VA239. For this service will commence shortly through gate number 6.
Not us, because we're 3 and we are at the airport, see?
We also would like to welcome business class,
Transition spaces.
to board out using the corridor boarding lane to gate number 3. Sorry, gate number 6. General boarding will commence shortly. On the left-hand side.
The journey.
Which gate?
Yeah. So I work in sharing with people in opening an Indigenous lens, of which I feel like we all have, as I recognise all people as descendants of Indigenous populations from all around the world, no matter how far removed people may be from that. And yeah, so my connection to my mother, my grandmother, and my family and country, and all that I've travelled through my life so far on country and with other people from all around the world, informs me in sharing that. And so we've worked together in that space, and where I've shared that way through your amazing artistic expressions of similar content. Yeah.
It was, I thought we would be writers. I thought we would be putting words to paper. And this group of women got together and they decided that they wanted to perform instead. So you came along and you had this beautiful singing voice, and you'd always open, you know, because you were really listening to the energies, and you taught me a lot about like listening and working with the energy and being true to that. And we were working with an elder around welcome to country and request to enter country. So I was really starting to think and learn about Indigenous perspective here in Australia, and through that I came to an understanding of my own indigeneity as well, you know. Like I never really understood, like, you know, my mom and my grandma, my dad, they always talked about our totem, but I never made the connection between totem and clan and kin and, you know, and genealogy. And then speaking to this elder, I started to understand and started to make connections, and then that has put me on a path with my writing, where the story, like I understand
Good
the
evening,
story
ladies and
now
gentlemen.
is
This
connection
information is for
to
guests travelling to Sydney
place,
on flight
and also
VA879
story as
6:30 departure.
trading and
Earlier on, it was necessary to place a gate change onto your service. Your new gate of departure will be gate number 11. Once again, for guests travelling to Sydney on flight VA879, your new gate of departure will be gate number 11.
so it's story as a connection to place, but story as creating connection to place as well, and how to do that respectfully. So that's where my practice is now, because I think after doing that work with you and Narweed, I really started to listen carefully to the acknowledgement of country,
Yeah.
and how it doesn't follow through its words, that they don't land and seed and sprout different ways of seeing and being. And so it's interesting because right now I'm catching a plane to a festival where they actually do a First Nations welcome, and I think it's been influenced by the stuff that's been happening here in Australia.
Yeah, it's interesting conversation. I've had, I was just sharing before about some of the kind of complex nature of working and sometimes arriving home and looking around and feeling alone and seeing like the work that we do, the importance of the work, the amount of people who we can gently plant the seed of awareness with, in better relating with the diversity of humans on the planet in relation to the localized landscape, and being in our modern times and having that I guess ancestral shaping of the way things were that allowed balance in the ecology and the biodiversity and the biocultures to coexist in a present time. And it can occupy you a lot because we're in a very consumeristic landscape in this day and age, and to different degrees we're all part of that, because we're at the airport about to fly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my plastic bottle.
Yeah, we were talking about that. And sometimes when been working a lot with people and then arriving home, and for me looking around, no little people, no one to snuggle up with, but in the work there's a selflessness and also a celebration of seeing something ignite in other people where they can feel a warmth where they may not have felt before. And like you were saying before about things you knew but you never actually thought about.
No.
You know, the little tiny things. So in the background, what I'm trying to get to is also receiving private messages on Facebook from people that are still interacting with countrymen here in Australia that are living very far removed from the fast-paced society that we live in. So if you used the English language, you would term it as people living a traditional lifestyle. Those people are not necessarily saying that about themselves, but they're living that way that kept the balance. And so some of the things that are influencing the world, like acknowledgement to country, welcome to country, for them aren't necessarily realities, and never were realities. But for the people living in the culturally evolved
Industrialized
society, yeah, which has been impacted by the industrialized realm, this is culture. This is the connectivity to that kinship way, in the way of communicating between worlds. So it's a very strong reality. Meanwhile, people who are far removed from that, living still as a part of the environment, not owners of, but they're not wording it, they've just always been part of that intricate, beautiful connectivity. They're not actually speaking these things. They're still with all of life in that manner. And yeah, for me being here and speaking. There's so many languages, so much code shifting that needs to occur to respect this whole spectrum of culture, cultural evolution, impact of society upon society upon society, to some degree human ignorance, to other degrees lack of awareness. You know, it's a very interesting dance. I call it a dance because you've got to learn the steps respectfully through all the diverse languages, but at the same time don't get smashed by all of it, because it can really hurt. I was trying to get somewhere, but I probably said a lot that I'm not sure I've just said there. I'm trying to say it isn't easy to be respectful in all directions when that's what you want to be. And I find that because we're both very honest people and both very creative people, and being able to speak honestly about true history, about true impacts that humans have had upon one another, about current issues, yet not harm other people. That's part of what we use the arts for, is not to hurt people, but to generally say, oi, this is truth, and hey, this is happening. So that's something I remember of our storytelling times, and the beautiful, wonderful, amazing people that brought together to have those expressions and those voices from the diversity of cultures that exist all around the world.
It was powerful.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful and humbling at the same time.
Very humbling. Very challenging, as you say. Lonely too.
It can be lonely.
Yeah, it can be really, really lonely.
Yeah, and I try not to feel lonely because I don't want to feel lonely, because I don't believe I am lonely, but I do recognize I'm alone at times. So it's lovely to meet and to, you know, like, oh yeah, remember? Inhale, inspire, let's keep going, and see how life unfolds, continues to unfold in a grounded and real and honest way. You know, it's not, with our feet firm on the earth and on the ground, and respecting ourselves as well. We respect.
This is personal page for Mr. Christopher Gibbons. Could you please start at gate number 6?
A few numbers there, a few gate numbers. Maybe these are the lotto numbers,
right?
So take notice. Yeah.
It's interesting because I've been talking to a couple of friends about that loneliness as well. You know, that comes with, because I think it hit me very hard in the last 3 months or so. So I don't know whether there's something larger happening that's influencing, you know, and bringing that into sort of like sharper relief than it normally is, because I'm usually quite just like coast along,
content,
you know, and just like,
yeah,
like when you're like, you know, you've been your own best friend for so long, like that's how I was like, yeah, that's what it is. Like, I've been my own best friend for so long. Where's this feeling coming from?
Yeah.
And it was very hard to explain to people. It was really, really hard to explain to people. They just didn't get it. Because I was starting to feel a bit empty. Like I had nothing to give anymore, and I needed to fill up again somehow, and I needed to find a way of, like, within myself, maintaining a balance between the work and, you know, all the energy that flows out of that, and finding a way to.
It's called reciprocation.
Yeah.
That's the way I understand it. Is this is what nature shows, and even trees breathing out and us breathing them in, and we breathe out and they breathe us in. It's reciprocal. This is kinship. It's a reciprocation. It's not conceptual. It's not even necessary. Oh, I haven't received lately. It's actually an automatic. So this is relationship, and I guess there you go. Keyword relationship.
Relationship.
Yeah, relationship can never be one way, because it's actually unnatural. Yeah, it's unnatural. So that's pretty much it.
It's interesting that you say that, because I've been looking at that. I've been saying that a lot, because I after I went through that experience, I sat with myself and I was like, well, what is it?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. For Virgin Australia guests travelling to Sydney on flight VA867, Boarding for this service will commence shortly through gate number 8. We kindly ask guests requiring assistance to come forward in preparation for boarding.
But that word came up for me, reciprocity.
Yeah.
But also with it,
Good evening, ladies and
generosity
gentlemen. Virgin Australia is travelling on flight VA694
and balance.
Reciprocity, generosity, balance.
Balance, those three words, and I've just been, and also love, joy, and magic. So those three sort of like words in combination,
Yeah.
and that dance, like I'm trying to figure out that, or just feel my way through that dance, and work out what works. And it's interesting because I've been having some very real conversations with folks who are, I think, of a generation that understands relationship differently to what we have now because of technology.
Yeah.
And they always said to me, 2 years ago when I first met them, they always said, you young people, you need to learn that some things can be put aside so you can just be with people and spend as much time as it needs and takes and is necessary to just be together.
Yeah, and some people, well, let's talk about these people here, put things aside. There's so much that needs to be done, but we need more people to share the load. And I was just sharing before that I was sitting in the car, had my eyes closed on the way to the airport, and I just feel like crying, and the crying feels like because of the tiredness, and it feels like if I cry, it's like letting go, holding all this, holding this demeanor, holding this respectfulness, holding this sharing, helping people understand, helping what you say not be downtrodden but expanded on, and your peripheral opened, and it's like at the same time not wanting to be selfish and look around and go, well, what about something just for me? What about something that's just mine? And I know my position in the world is just mine. It's an automatic. And it's a moment where I say I have to watch my thinking, because those thinking, that I can bring myself down by the thoughts, or I can just be aware that's how I feel right now. This is how I'm feeling right now.
It's powerful that you say that, because that's something else that you taught me. The I doesn't exist. It's always in relation to.
It's a relation.
It's a relation, and it can only exist because there is a relation. And it's interesting because this consumerist time that we're in, it's all about the I. Without seeing.
Not this I.
Not this I. Me. Not the individual.
Me.
Anyway, the individual.
Yeah.
And what was it that I was thinking once upon a time? Individuality is very different from individualism. Because we need people to be truly themselves and truly come into themselves, to individuate. But that interdependence, we don't know how to do that. So it becomes, I find that makes it very, the work becomes challenging in these times, because a lot of people have not known that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Virgin Australia
I was saying to a friend,
the following guests. Stella Bear to please approach staff member staff 9. You're at gate number 4.
Another number.
Oh, that's my number. But I was saying, they can wait. I was saying to a friend, my grandmother lived with us in our house. So the things that I was taught and the way that I was taught to relate is something that her grandmother had passed on to her. So I come from a very old time,
Yep.
And then I get confused in these times. I feel like a very old person in these modern times. I'm just like, why don't we just sit around a table and chat for hours, or sit on the ground and chat for a while, or, you know?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our final boarding call for remaining guests travelling to Sydney on flight VA867, the delayed 5 o'clock service. Boarding for this service will be closing shortly. Please proceed directly to gate number 8.
And it's funny that we're talking about all of this, and it's like, rush, get on time. You know, everything is just about being on time, and everybody's life is so regimented and so structured that it is so challenging and so difficult to break away and spend time.
Let's do something other than what we're doing, as well as if we get a chance.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This information is for those guests travelling to Sydney on flight 875, the scheduled 6 p.m. service. Boarding for this service will commence shortly through gate number 3.
Thank you. Let's relate. So I walk out of the city and I breathe deep, deep, deep into this vessel that's known as my body. The wind hears my call, and all the trees respond, and they send to me what it is that they know that I need.
I walk into this building, glass and cement, and I am feeling a little bit dislocated because I'm about to fly to somewhere else. My mind is already in another space, but at the same time it's going back in time to when I was last in that space. And then all I can think really is, I need to ground. And then there you are. The reason why I'm leaving, or one of the main driving forces why I'm able to leave, is because of the work that we did so long ago. So now I'm leaving, but connected to what happened here. So I'm grounded, and I'm getting on a plane.
And standing behind us are thousands upon thousands of unseen forces,
Right?
generational forces, gentle but flowing all the same. And from this point of time, in this moment called now, as we feel the swirl and the depths of the layers of this little refreshing pool, this moment in time.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Virgin Australia is paging Mr. Jeffrey Dorsett. Mr. Jeffrey Dorsett, if you are on the terminal, please see Virgin Australia staff located on the ground floor at baggage services. Thank you.
Nourishing us, reminding us.
Gentlemen, for Virgin Australia guests travelling to Brisbane on flight VA347, check out.
Keeping us real.
Right? It's amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, for Virgin Australia guests travelling to Brisbane on flight VA347, boarding for this service will commence shortly through gate number 13 and will close 2 minutes prior to departure. If you hold a boarding pass to this service, please proceed directly to gate number 13. We'd also like to invite any guests requiring further assistance to make themselves known for boarding.
Take notice of those numbers. There's a lotto ticket there. Yeah, those waters are sustaining.
Yeah.
Yup. There's never any alone.
No.
I already knew that.
And now we see it. And
Yup.
we feel it.
Yup.
And it's confirmed. Wow.
She's going back home. Yeah. You.
I know. It's, I can't even. I think I'm gonna have a really good cry on the plane. Just release, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make some room for what's to become.
And just such gratitude. It's tears of gratitude because this journey's been long, and it's been about feeling my way through, you know, listening, and meeting you reassured me to listen, because I wasn't crazy, because I was taught not to listen. We're taught not to listen. And then so when you meet somebody who teaches you to listen deeply and to honor what's inside, because what's inside is what the ancestors are telling us.
Yeah.
That's powerful. That was a powerful learning. So to meet you now, it's like, cool. I'm just like, it's good.
Thank you. Thank us. Thank everything.
Our ancestors are powerful, and they're connected, and they know, and they're talking to each other.
So we pick up where our old people left off, and there's some things that, you know, you hand the baton to the next generation in a moment of hardship, or a moment of almost, something almost able to celebrate, and it's locked in. It's a deep, 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 deep wish, and it's passed through time.
Ladies and gentlemen, this information is for those guests who recently arrived in from the Gold Coast on BA 744. Your luggage will be available on carousel number 3.
It's a long thread.
Yeah.
And it's an ongoing thread.
Yeah.
And it was known before we were even here.
Yeah, it was.
It's powerful.
That's what gives me peace at times when I'm feeling a little bit selfish, I guess, because I'm thinking, ooh. But my deeper wisdom, or maybe my old lady me that I'm growing into, or maybe the old lady who's got her hand on my back, is saying, it's all happening. It's all happening in capital letters. Keep going, keep going. Just keep on chipping away, keep going. And then maybe through my participation, I'll be passing that baton on in time. But it'll be very clear and very grounded and very honed in because of those inner commitments that I'm making. And for me, the only sacrifice is silliness. I sacrifice silliness. I sacrifice hype. I sacrifice running with the crowd, so that I can pass something really, really grounded and actual to whoever may be there, finding those footprints. Yeah, it's very level, and it's informed by nature and by those old people. And when I say old people, I say old as in embodied human beings, a race of people from all around the planet who listened to what you're talking about, listened to nature, listened to what it is that seeds life on this planet, and has that interconnectivity of all things, participating in the big picture all the time, even independently, simultaneously, without self-indulgence being the driving force. It's always a collaborative effort of balance, because each individual participant maintained their position. I don't know if that finished. I'm just going to check. Hold on.
The beep, didn't it?
Yeah. Maybe the thing is full.
Or the battery.
Battery's going.
Still recording.
I hope. Let's see if it recorded. Oops, let's put it there so you can
There
see
we
your
go.
face on your one too. You were blocked out.
Amazing. Amazing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah, and that's nature. Yeah.
This is powerful. love.
That's
So
what
much
people
love.
say. Love. I guess love is balance to me. Love is without polarity of hate in its purest form.
Right?
Yeah. It's
has
not
no
it
opposite.
doesn't swing. Yeah.
No.
That's
truth.
yeah, that's it. It's not the love people say I love you.
Mm-mm.
Just for me to say that to someone means something higher, and it's pure.
This is good.
Yeah, it's
needed to hear
pure.
this.
It's pure. It's not I need to own you. It's no, I love you. You're free.
Yeah.
That's what it is when I say that.
I'm working on that.
Good for
Works
all.
in-
Good for
works
you.
in
Good for
progress.
the other.
Works in progress. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm working on relaxing to see that maybe someone can allow themselves to be loved in a pure way. Not knowing pure love, only knowing love of possession by others. So they don't know it when they see it. Yeah.
Yes, I'm having that experience, but I'm the lover's possession.
And I think maybe that's how we evolve and grow. We've all been everything somewhere, whether it's through our ancestors, but we've all been everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
We're all going through it.
yeah, yeah,
We've all been through it. We're all going through it.
yeah.
Compassion.
Yeah, wisdom of respect for someone's position. And what's your knowing in nature?
What's my knowing in nature? I don't know how to answer that question. I am feeling wind and water these days. A lot. These few years. That connection is very powerful. It's quite close, it's growing. Yeah. That's how I would answer it.
Cool. Yeah,
How would you answer that?
what's my knowing in nature? So when I close my eyes, I just sink into the earth straight away, and I just see the patterns, rhythms, and waves of all cycles through time, and it's so in all directions, the complexity of our individual progress. We've been here before, and my knowing is we can actually shift the direction. Yeah,
We do have that power.
yeah, we can shift it.
We actually do have that power. It's very true.
I feel that I should go check on that day.
Yeah,
Make sure I don't miss my flight back home.
let's do that. So that's us for now.
Oh, for
At
now.
this point in time, whatever it is,
That's
June,
beautiful.
2019.
Amazing.
Oh God. Us. Here we go.
I hope the sound came out well.